Alright, so now I'm going to waste some more of my time. I'm going to kind of talk in an abstract form now because direct dialogue is mean. It's hopeless to the ignorant. Ignorant people will never understand what they don't want to understand. Ignorant, you hear that? Hear that? I'll repeat it again. Ignorant people refuse to understand what they don't want to understand. That's just it. Anyway, so I'm gonna use abstract. I'm gonna tell a story. Here we go with story time. Story time. Here we go. So the movie District 9 came out. When the movie District 9 came out, I was interested because I like sci-fi horror, and it seemed like it was worth checking out. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if it was going to be good or not. I didn't really know. It seemed like it might be good, and I wanted to go see a sci-fi horror movie. And usually when I do that, it's hit or miss. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. And so that's how I went into the theater, expecting that this could be good. This might be good. It might not. It might be just like mediocre. I don't know. But I decided to go watch it. So I watched District 9. And I'm watching District 9, right? And from the very beginning, I was confused because, first of all, there were no famous actors in it. And so, I'm not familiar. It's kind of out of my familiar zone, I don't see any familiar faces on the screen, which is kind of like, that's kind of rare, Usually when you go to a movie theater, you see familiar faces on the movie screen. And so that was the first thing that was kind of confusing and almost off-putting. I didn't know what to think. I'm like, what? So there's no familiar faces in this movie. Weird, right? Isn't that kind of weird? So I'm watching this. It made me more skeptical because there were no familiar faces. There was no actors, recognizable actors, familiar actors, no Hollywood stars. So I'm immediately more skeptical. I'm like, okay, I don't know. This is kind of weird, right? But I already paid the money. I'm already sitting in the theater. So I was a little awkward. I'm in unfamiliar territory. I don't see any actors that I recognize. Like none of them. Not one of those actors are familiar faces at all. Okay. So then I'm watching in kind of confusion and skepticism, like, what am I even watching here, right? Then it was a very unconventional approach to film. So I'd be like kind of laughing. There'd be, there are parts that are funny, but I can't tell if they're supposed to be funny or it's just like I'm just laughing because it's like, what I'm trying to say? Like, is this intentional comedy or am I just laughing because it was unintentionally funny? And so it's just more weird. Like everything about District 9 was from the very beginning was like really unfamiliar. It's not a conventional approach to filmmaking. There's no famous actors. And so I'm just like the whole time I'm confused. I don't even know what to make of this. But I mean, I'm getting entertained nonetheless because like there are scenes that are, even though I can't tell if they're intentionally funny, they are funny and I'm laughing. And the acting seems to be good. But again, there's no familiar faces, right? And so I'm continuing to watch this, not sure what to make of it. And then there'll be like funny shit. And then there'll be like a scene that's like real serious and there's gore in it. And I'm like, whoa. And so then I'm getting confused. Like, is this a comedy? Again, it's not a conventional film. Because at first I'm kind of thinking, well, is this some kind of comedy and then something serious will happen and I'll be like, what the fuck, right? And so then I'm like, what am I watching? Is this supposed to be a sci-fi horror, a comedy? I don't know, there's no familiar faces, so I'm like going on and I'm following the story, but it's kind of distracting because there's no famous people in this movie, and it's kind of going outside of the confines of a conventional filmmaking. And so I'm still like, 20 minutes in, I'm still confused. I don't even know what's going on. Am I supposed to be laughing, or am I supposed to be like, and so, but the film just keeps going on anyways. And I'm thinking, what? Right? And it wasn't until about 30 minutes or so into the film where I started to realize, okay, I think I see the direction this is going. Right? And so then I keep watching, and it was just a very, very unique film experience compared to your typical film experience. It was very, very unique. The acting was good. The cinematography was good. The script was good. The special effects were good. Everything with this was good, but it's like it does not confine to the conventional film approach. Like, it's way outside. It's like almost confusing. Like, I don't understand. And then what's even more confusing is, how could this movie be good when there's no famous actors in it? There's not like one familiar face in this movie at all. Like, what is going on? So I keep watching this movie, and even though I'm confused, I'm entertained, which is the point, really. Isn't that the point? And so I'm like, I'm processing all this while I'm watching this, and I'm realizing, well, yeah, I am entertained, and that is the point of going to a movie. So, but I'm still like, what? I've never seen anything. This is really bizarre. This movie is like really fucking bizarre. But the more I watch the movie, the more I'm like, dude, this is a fucking great film. This is exactly what I am thoroughly pleased with this movie, even though it's totally like way out there. Just an absurd kind of non-conventional movie. I'm entertained. So as I'm processing this, I have to admit to myself, this is great. This is a great movie. And the more the movie went on, the more I was like, dude, this is amazing. Like, this fucking, this, the scenes in it, everything, the tragic comedy, everything about it. Even by that time, I'm like, these actors, I'm glad that there are no famous actors in this movie. Like, this is perfect. Like, everything about it is perfect, right? To me, my person. And so, and I'm having this experience, and I can sense, my intuition can sense that the audience, everyone else was experiencing the same thing I was. Like, everyone else was like just as confused and odd and fucking entertained as me, even though it's like this is like totally outside the typical movie experience, right? And so the whole theater, and it was full of people. And everyone is experiencing something similar or the same as me while we're watching this. We're all just watching silent in awe, trying to figure out, like, how is this movie good? Because it is, but there's no famous actors. Like, and it's like, 1 minute you're fucking laughing, the next minute you're like in shock and you feel sorry for the character, And some of the gore scenes were like fuck, like, oh my god, I can almost not watch that. And and I love horror, and some of those scenes are like, whoa, right? So this whole experience, and so by the end of the movie, I'm like fully what's the term I'm looking for? I'm fully satisfied. I'm like completely satisfied on almost every level. It's practically a perfect movie. By the end of the movie, I'm just like, wow, that was great, right? So then the movie ends, and the credits start to roll, and I'm like this. I'm like bated breath. Like, I want to clap so bad. I want to just start going, yeah. But I don't. So I'm like this, and what I'm doing is I'm waiting for somebody else to start clapping, and as soon as somebody else does, I'm going to be like this, like. But I'm not going to be the one, right? I'm not going to be the one. And so I'm just kind of like waiting for people to clap, and nobody does, and I'm thinking, should I clap? And to be honest with you, I regret not. I should have just been like, even if I'm the only one, I should have just been like, yeah, that was fucking sick, But I didn't, because I was waiting. I was assuming somebody else would be ballsier than me and be the one to start clapping. And so I just assumed that people were going to clap. So I was waiting. Nobody clapped. And then I'm starting to build like awkward tension within myself. Like, dude, nobody's clapping. Do I have to be the one? Do I have to be the one to break the mold and fucking clap? And I couldn't do it. And the thing is the whole time I'm experiencing this, my intuition is saying that like a bunch of the other audience in the theater were all doing the same thing. We're all like waiting for somebody to clap so that we can all start clapping. But nobody would clap. And it was, you could feel the tension in the theater. You could like cut it with a butter knife, that everybody was like sitting on the edge of the seat with bated breath, hands ready to clap, waiting for someone else to. And nobody did. Okay. And so you might not be a fan of the movie District 9, or you might not see it the way I did. You might not. I went and saw it in the theater, didn't know what to expect. Maybe saw part of a trailer or something and thought, oh, that might be a good movie. But I didn't really know there were going to be no famous people in it. I didn't know anything about the film. So when I went in, by the end, I'm like, this is fucking, oh my God, this is such a good movie, right? And nobody, and it was like, nobody's clapping. Like, wow. It tripped me out. Nobody clapped, right? And you might think, well, that's because that movie isn't that good. Yeah, it's all opinion, I suppose, But I could be right. That there were a bunch of people in the audience just like me that we were all just waiting. Is somebody going to clap or what? Like, what's up, man? Are we going to clap or anybody? Because I'm not going to be the one, but if somebody else does, boy, I'm going to fucking be like making sure my hands get heard, I think that's what I really believe to this day. That's what happened with my movie experience. And the thing is when something is not familiar with an audience, even though the audience might like it, they're not going to acknowledge it as good. They're going to all be waiting to, they're going to be doing what I did. They're going to wait for somebody else to start clapping before they clap, And anyways, the interesting thing is, so I was like, dude, that's a great movie. So I would go to work and I'd tell my friends, this is a fucking great movie. And I was like telling people, you need to go watch this movie, right? And then I remember like one of my coworkers, it had a mixed response with my coworkers. Like some people didn't go watch it. Some people went and watched it and then they didn't like it. And some people went and watched it and were like me. We're like, dude, that movie is fucking amazing, right? And so I remember this one guy who didn't really like it, right? And he was like talking, and he went and saw Book of Eli with Denzel Washington, and he really liked that movie. Like that movie was really good, but District 9 wasn't. And then I watched Book of Eli, and I didn't like it. The only good thing about the Book of Eli is that Tom Waits was in the film, and I didn't really care. It wasn't a big groundbreaking film to me. It was like I suppose it's good to kill some time, but it was nothing like District 9. District 9, I was like, whoa, bro. Okay. And so he's saying that he liked Book of Eli way better, that Book of Eli was way better and District 9 wasn't that good and all this shit. So I'm like, okay, whatever. This guy's dumb. Like to me, it's like you don't understand art, film or anything. And he didn't. Of course he didn't. I've been played music all my life. I've been involved in all kinds of music and art stuff. And whereas this guy, he's just like, just your normie, a normie type person. So, of course, the normie likes Book of Eli and doesn't like District 9, right? So that's the way I viewed it. I was like, anyways. So then Time Magazine comes out about a year later with the 100 most influential people in the world. The 100 most influential people in the world for that year. 2000, whatever it was, 2012 or whatever, right? Well, and guess what? The film director of the movie District 9 was in the list of the top 100 most influential people in the world for his film District 9. Not only because it was such a good movie and that so many people loved it, it was also that film director's first fucking movie ever made. That was their first film they ever made, was District 9. And so the director of the film District 9 got listed as one of the top 100 most influential people in the world for his movie. And again, going back to my theater experience, when I was in the theater at the end and I was at bated breath waiting to applaud, waiting for the applause so that I could start clapping, and nobody was. And I felt like we were all doing the same thing. We were all sitting, we were all ready to clap, but we were all waiting for someone else to start clapping and nobody clapped. That's what it was. That's what the movie theater was. All those people were all like blown away. They loved the movie, but nobody was going to clap because it didn't have famous actors. It didn't have a conventional movie format, and none of it was conventional. Nothing about that movie was conventional. So everybody was like wondering if we should all applaud or not, because it doesn't fit the mold of what a movie is. And so, but then when Time Magazine comes out with the 100 most influential people in the world, and that director happens to be one of them because of his movie, you know that, like, this is just not just me tripping. This is a real fucking movie. But it takes people a long time to like catch on that, looking back in history, even now, looking back, most people will acknowledge District 9 is a great movie. I mean, 10 years from now, people are going to look back, and even more so, they're going to be like, that movie. Because people are not going to be bound by, conventional thinking as much. Conventional thinking will be different 10 years from now than it was 10 years prior to now. You see what I mean? Conventional thinking will be different 10, 20 years from now. And so as conventional thinking progresses or digresses, depending on whatever, people are going to view things in the past differently than they do now. And I guarantee you, District 9, 10, 20 years from now, people are going to look back and be like, that was amazing. And it's just an amazing film. There is no two ways around it. That's why Time Magazine but anyways, my point is people are not receptive to new ideas. People just want to stay in the safe zone. They don't want to go outside of what's familiar, what's conventional. And so you have all these audiences like on BitChute and Rumble and Odyssey and stuff. They all are just stuck in what they're supposed to do. If there's something that comes out that is outside of the conventional thing, they're not going to praise it. They're not going to praise it. They're going to be confused, and they're going to be waiting for other people to be like, okay, are we supposed to praise this or not? I don't know. Is it? And there's going to be times where phenomena like that, where something is going to come out that's going to be so unconventional that because it's unconventional, people are going to be hesitant and be confused. Like, are we supposed to praise this or are we supposed to give it the thumbs down? And they're not going to know. And they're going to be looking to other people like, what are we supposed to do? And nobody's going to know. Everybody's going to be like, I don't know. You know, and if that particular content actually does end up getting regarded later on as like, well, that was actually great content, then people have permission to like it. And they're like, yeah, I thought that was really good too. But they won't say anything until it ends up in Time Magazine, where Time Magazine says, yeah, that content that came out a year ago was fucking like way like ahead of its time, blah, blah, blah. And then all those people who were confused, they thought it was good, but they weren't sure how to respond because they were looking to everyone else and everyone else is doing the same thing. Then they'll all come out and be like, yeah, I thought that was good too. Yeah, man, you know. So it's just something that I want to talk about. And you can make up your mind as to what I'm talking about. It has to do with, if anything at all.